Hello, good evening. Welcome, welcome. So glad that you're here. The fact that you've carved out an hour for yourself really tells me that you're ready to feel calm, to feel peace, to feel regulated. And hello for those watching on the replay as well. So we're going to get started right on time tonight because we have a lot of content to cover. And we're going to have some question time at the end. But if something comes up for you as we go, feel free to pop it into the chat. And we're actually going to do a few little live processes as well tonight. So if you can, just get comfortable where you are. You don't need like a yoga mat or chair or anything like that. You're just going to be doing them in your seat where you are. And just stay open tonight. Now, some of what I will share, you might have heard before in some form, but I promise the way that we go through it and actually feel it in the body, some parts of that are going to be brand new. So really stay with me here and let's do. So, who am I and why am I the person talking to you about stress and nervous system tonight? Well, my name is Sarah-Jayne McNaughton. I am a solopreneur business coach, life strategist, leadership mentor, retreat facilitator, keynote speaker, and thanks to my own journey with burnout and stress in the past, I've become somewhat an expert in nervous system regulation and stress management. Things I knew nothing about when I was going through my own struggles. So, with 20 years in corporate and 10 in leadership, I know what it means to perform under relentless pressure, to be the one everyone's looking to hold an impossible standard, and just to keep hitting it, even when you're running completely on empty. So, I'm sure that many of you can actually resonate with that feeling there, that running on empty and still having to keep going. So, what is stress actually? So I want to start here because the word stress gets thrown around a lot, right? We've almost stopped taking it seriously at this stage. So yeah, I'm a bit stressed and we just keep going. That's kind of the sentiment. But stress is not just a feeling, it is actually a physiological event happening inside your body. So when it becomes chronic, when it never properly switches off, it does something really serious in terms of damage to us over time. And that could be things like our mindset, our emotional state, and it can also be physically, so illness and things like that. So here's what's actually happening when you're stressed. Your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate goes up. Blood gets diverted away from your digestive system, your reproductive system, your immune system, and pushed into your muscles so that you are ready to run or fight. Your brain goes into full threat scanning mode. It's doing that all the time anyway, but it goes into like high alert and your thinking narrows. So maybe some of these are, resonating for you in terms of when I feel stressed, all I can think about is the way out. The next thing I have to do, I can't think beyond that. Or maybe you have had, issues with your physical health, reproduction, immune system, if you're getting sick all the time. These are actually indications that your nervous system is on overload and that you're actually experiencing high stress and that cortisol adrenaline balance over a prolonged period of time. Now, this is actually a brilliant design, right? It's keeping your body alive in a genuinely dangerous situation. That is what our nervous system is created for. The problem is your body does all of that, whether it's being chased by a bear or whether you've just seen an email from someone that you don't like. It can't tell the difference. And this is the problem with sort of the modern age and why stress is such a prominent thing right now, because our body cannot tell the difference. It will respond the same way no matter what. So if someone who is chronically stressed, so if you are someone who is chronically stressed, if that activation is running day after day, your immune system is suppressed. Your digestion is compromised. Your sleep is affected. Your hormones are out. Your capacity for rational decision making is reduced. Your relationships suffer and your energy tanks. So here's the real kicker though. After a while, your nervous system starts to think that this is just normal. that consistent activation, even low-level activation, becomes your baseline, and your operating system recalibrates around stress as the default state. So you kind of stop noticing that it's an issue and stop doing something about it, if you like. This is why I say stress is not just a feeling, it's a full body experience. And it is one that your nervous system is running completely subconsciously. So, quick check-in. How many of these actually land for you? You feel tired, but you can't switch off. So that wired and tired feeling, right? Hence the name of the webinar tonight. You're more irritable or short-tempered than you'd like to be, or than you have been in the past. You get sick a lot, or you have ongoing unexplained physical stuff like tension headaches and gut issues, insomnia, tight shoulders, things of that nature. You overthink or spiral, or your brain just won't quieten down. Even when you're trying to do the things to quieten it down, it kind of just won't go there. You feel disconnected from yourself, from people you love, maybe, even from your own life. Who's felt that feeling of stuck disconnection? You're running on coffee and willpower and calling it productivity. This is one I used to favor. It's very specific because this is where I used to operate most of the time. And you've really lost touch with what you actually enjoy or what lights you up in life. So if 2 or more of those really landed for you, welcome. You're in exactly the right place tonight. This is who this information is for. Okay, so here's the way that I like to explain the nervous system in simple terms. Think about your body like a computer. You've got your hardware, so your physical body, your organs, tissues, limbs, the physical stuff. Then you've got your software, so your thoughts, your emotions, beliefs. And then you've got your operating system, the thing running in the background the whole time, managing absolutely everything, connecting everything. You can't see it, but if it's not healthy, nothing works properly. Your nervous system is the operating system of your human being. It is the most important system in your entire body, and most people have genuinely never given it a second thought until something goes wrong, or they just don't know about it. That was my experience. I just didn't know about the nervous system. I'd never heard of it before. Your nervous system is completely subconscious. It is shaped by every experience you've ever had, every trauma, also every bit of conditioning and environment you've ever been in, from childhood right up until this moment. It influences how you respond to life, how you handle stress, your capacity to handle stresses, how safe you feel in your own body, and even things like your energy, your vibration, and how you show up in the world, all controlled by how your nervous system is functioning. Now, there are 2 parts to the nervous system. There's many, but these are the 2 main ones you need to know, and the ones that I want you to understand tonight. The first is your sympathetic nervous system. This is your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. Completely automatic. It fires before you've had the conscious thought. It's the one whose only job really is to get you out of danger. It's brilliant, and it has kept humans alive for hundreds of years. It's also a little bit outdated, but we'll get into that shortly as well. Now, the second is your parasympathetic nervous system. This is your rest, digest, recover system, or part of your nervous system that's important in that way. This is the one that heals you, that allows you to sleep deeply, that think clearly, to connect with people, to feel calm and peace. And this is the one that we can consciously work with and nurture. And it absolutely is life-changing when you do. Both are always trying to keep you safe. Like the nervous system overall, it is just wiring that's trying to keep you safe. But when you're chronically stressed, your sympathetic system is running the show all the time, and your parasympathetic is barely able to get a look in. You never fully recover. You just kind of keep going like you're on a treadmill, right? And you can't get off. So it's important here also to mention the vagus nerve. It is the longest nerve in the body. It runs from your brain, through your eyes, through your ears, your vocal cords, all the way down through heart, lungs, and gut. It is the communication highway between your brain and your body. So really, really important. And again, something that people, maybe have never heard of before. The beautiful thing about the vagus nerve is we can stimulate it consciously. We can literally send a signal through that nerve. It is the part of the nervous system that is physical, if you like. So that's not just communication cells, it's actually a physical thing. So we can actually send signals through that nerve that tells your entire system you are safe. You can calm down. And I'm going to show you a couple of things in a few minutes around this, but it's really just sending a signal consciously that everything's okay, we can relax, we are safe here. Now, when we talk about the nervous system, we talk in terms of being regulated or dysregulated. So regulated doesn't mean, sitting in a Zen garden doing nothing. It means your system is in balance. You can have stress, like work stress or relationship stress or life stuff happening, and come back to your center. You're not reactive, you're responsive. There is a difference in your ability to come back to baseline, to recover quickly, because stresses, good and bad, are unavoidable, right? Can we reduce them? Yes. Can we eradicate them? No. But what's important is the recovery. So the type of recovery and the time it takes to recover. That's really the integral point, and that's the difference between regulated and dysregulated. But when you're regulated, you do tend to feel calm and peaceful inside, like energy is flowing freely through you. So the other analogy I like to use is that your nervous system is like a highway, right? So if you have an accident on a highway in one part of your body, for a while, everything will work around that. It will create a detour. And then after a while, that one might get blocked as well. So what it feels like when you're regulated is there's free flowing traffic on my highway, because that's what our body should feel like, energy flow. There's a sense of internal safety. This is what I was saying before about the safety aspect. Every single thing around this is coming back to safety. So when we feel regulated, it just means that we feel like we're not in danger right now, real or perceived. And you're grounded within yourself, like calm and peaceful inside. Also connected to who you actually are. And this is one that gets overlooked a little bit with the stress. So what happens when we get stressed, when we get jacked in the nervous system? One of the really, really damaging things over a long period of time is we lose connection with ourselves. So our thoughts and our emotions change. It might be a more negative pattern. It might be just something that feels more comfortable, which is not always serving us. And your body will align to that new truth, if you like. So it's like this disconnection or this inability to hear ourselves. And when we're regulated, we are connected to who we actually are. Our thoughts, emotions, and body all feel aligned, and they feel like us. And you make decisions from a really balanced, clear place. You certainly have greater compassion and patience for others. When I'm dysregulated and someone cuts me off in traffic, that reaction is a little bit different to when I'm feeling good in my nervous system and safe and calm in myself, right? So really that compassion and patience for others, if you notice that leaving, going away, that can be a really big sign as well of dysregulation. And then, finally, as I touched on before, that capacity to hold stress without it destroying you. It's not another thing on the pile. It's just a thing that happens and then we bounce back, and a thing that happens and we bounce back. Because again, life is full of stressors, good and bad. Our moods and emotions are meant to fluctuate. And it's really about our capacity. So the more regulated we are, the more capacity we have to hold the stress and recover. Dysregulation, mostly the opposite, but just a couple of things to note here. So your anxiety, overwhelm, that buzzy racing feeling that you can't stop. So again, when we have a stressor hit and we get the anxious or with overwhelm or that buzz, and we're able to calm ourselves or regulate in some way and bring ourselves back to center. But it's when we can't do that we might have gone into a really dysregulation sort of place. Quick temper and emotional outbursts. Or the flip side of that, some people go into numbness. I have no emotion, I have no feeling, which was my experience as well. Other dysregulation can also look like procrastination, avoidance, freezing. These are all, ways to protect ourselves if we're in actual danger. So really just getting stuck, even if you want the actual thing that you're going for, you'll actually just not do it People pleasing, having poor boundaries, destructive behavior. These are the kind of things that make us feel better and soothe us, but just in a negative way instead of in a positive way. So when we, make other people happy, or we allow our boundaries to be violated, or we, engage in behaviors that are good in the moment and bad for us long term, it's about soothing and just trying to get some safety back into our system. So if those are happening regularly, it could be another sign of dysregulation. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, just some physical signs can look like constantly getting sick, tensiony type injuries, or tension like headaches and things like that, gut issues, insomnia, especially prolonged for the insomnia as well. Okay, so dysregulation, as I mentioned, is essentially the disconnection. So I mentioned connection with regulation and the disconnection between your mind and your body, and between you and your authentic self and what you actually want. That's what dysregulation feels like. And probably here's the most important thing. You can't think your way out of a dysregulated nervous system. You can't positive affirmation out. They're helpful and all of that, but you can't just decide to feel better. You actually have to feel your way there through the body. This is a body process. As I said, stress is not a mind thing, it's a physiological thing. And the cure is not a mind thing, it's a physiological thing. So that's what the next part of tonight is all about. I want to give you some really practical things that you can do and understand how to combat this when it comes up for you. So the MMM of nervous system regulation. And as I was saying, if we think about our body like a computer again, an operating system in a computer requires the three things. It needs to be managed when something goes wrong in an acute sense. So something goes drastically wrong in the moment, it needs to be fixed. It needs to be managed. It also needs regular maintenance to keep running well and running smoothly. And I was talking about that energy flow before. We need the maintenance part. And again, so that when a stressor hits, that we're able to regulate and come back to center. And then the monitoring, right? So we need to know what to look out for, how to know things are off, what's not working, things of that nature. So your nervous system is exactly the same. It needs these three things. So let's go through each one, and I'll give you a couple of real practical tools as well you can use straight away. Alrighty, so management. Management is what you do in the acute moment. So something happens and you get maybe an anxiety spike, your anger flares up, if you feel like you go into a bit of a spiral or even a complete shutdown. This is a bit of an emergency toolkit when something happens and you have a reaction in your body that is almost uncontrollable, right? And some of you might understand this, right? It feels like I have no control over how I feel and how I'm thinking right now. And sometimes it translates to what comes out of our mouth, what we say. It doesn't feel like we're in control of that either. So one more thing just before we go through these though, these are not for when you're genuinely in danger. If a car is about to hit you, get out of the way. These are for moments when your body is responding as if there's danger, but there's no actual physical threat. So your body, as I said before, can't tell the difference. So we have to tell it, right? So I want you to think about the last time that you felt a negative emotion, a really strong one, like an anger or an anxiety or an overwhelm. And just have a think about this for a minute. It's kind of like hot air rising in the body, and hot air does rise, right? So maybe when it starts out, you feel like some butterflies in the tummy. You might feel that the muscles in your arms get a bit tense, in your shoulders. Maybe you get some sweaty palms, a bit of flushing. Then the last thing that happens is up here just goes absolutely haywire. Absolutely haywire, and you no longer feel in control of your thoughts or what you say. So if you think about a stressful reaction, or a stressor hitting us and the way our body reacts, like hot air rising in the body, one really useful thing you can do is understand that the two parts of our body are built very differently. So the top half of us is where our heart space is. It's where our arms are. It's where we get to think, and it's where all of our emotional and feeling stuff is. It's very flowy. There's a lot of parts to it. But our legs are like really simple, right? But they're strong. They're robust. They're dense. So what I like to do when I can feel that hot air rising feeling coming up, like I'm about to blow my top here, anger-wise, for example, is I imagine it, the hot air, and I just push it down into my nice strong legs. And I say to myself, my legs can handle this. They're built for this. They can hold this. I can deal with this in a moment. But it's really about in the moment clearing from the top down before it comes up into the body. I know it sounds really bizarre, but really think about it. When you have an acute emotional response, it travels from your midsection upwards. So what can we do to push it down into the body and into your legs? And I just say, my nice strong legs can handle this. That's what they're there for. And my top half gets to be clear and calm and love and all of those beautiful things. Now, the next one is, and we're gonna do this live. So I'm gonna get you, if you're able, just to stand up and plant your feet on the ground. Probably shut down your eyes if you're comfortable to do so, and just stand in your normal posture. So arms are just like down by the sides, standing up nice and tall, and eyes are closed. And I want you to start. So at the moment, I'm experiencing the stressor, anxiety, overwhelm, anger. And I want you just to close down your eyes, stand there, and I want you to imagine underneath your feet there are 3 points. So if this is my foot, the heel is here, and then this is the top just before my toes. And there's 3 points, one at the heel and 2 on either side of my foot. And as you're standing there with your feet flat on the ground, I want you to shift your weight, and it might be ever so slight shifts in your weight until there is exactly between those 3 points on each foot. And just keep shifting, keep moving. And then after a moment or so, you'll be like, yep, there, I've got it. I've got it. Now, a couple of things have happened here. First of all, we have, again, removed the fog, the emotional response, the reaction from the top of our body down into our feet. And the other thing that's happened is if we're concentrating on our feet and bringing, 3 points into perfect unison under our feet, are we thinking about the thing we're angry about? Are we thinking about the thing that's overwhelming us? It's almost like a meditative practice, and it's really simple. You can just do it on the spot and you will almost clear that emotion immediately. So that is sort of 2 practical things you can do with the body. The next one is the self-hug. So this is like if you're feeling really fragile or overwhelmed with maybe a sadness or that type of emotion, and it feels a little bit strange to do it, but it absolutely works. So take your right hand and you put it under your left armpit, and then you just give yourself a little hug. Just wrap your other arm around and give yourself a little hug. This is a particularly soothing, calming, safety signal way to hold yourself and embrace yourself in your body. And then the key part here is also to talk to yourself gently, out loud or in your head. It doesn't matter. Like, people don't need to hear you, but talk to yourself like someone that you love. So you're going to be okay. I've got you, even if this is hard, and really, I've got you is the main message, right? Your nervous system responds to physical touch and tone of voice. So when you do this, you are literally sending that safety signal to your system. Number 3 is breathing. So breathing is the only automatic function of your body that you can also consciously control, which means consciously changing your breathing is one of the fastest ways to change your physiological state. And remember what I've said, stress is the physiological state, right? So most of us breathe in a way that's kind of just enough to survive, shallow chest breathing. And that actually keeps our nervous system in a mild state of stress at all times. So the absolute fastest way to calm your nervous system is to make your exhale longer than your inhale. That's it. That's the whole trick. So maybe you breathe in for counts of 4 and out for counts of 6, or in for counts of 4 and out for counts of 8. So long as the exhale is the longer exhale like stimulates the vagus nerve and tells your parasympathetic nervous system, the calm healing branch, to activate instantly. It says like, come into rest and recovery. We're good. We're safe. It gives you that signal. So that's the first one. So it doesn't matter how long they are, as long as the exhale is longer than the inhale. And also, obviously, at the same time, breathing nice and deeply into the belly. And then the next one is box breathing. So box breathing is probably something most people have heard of, but I really love it because it's so simple, easy to remember in the moment when you need it. It's very discreet, so you can do this at your desk at work or meeting even if you have to. It's really discreet. The other thing about it is it's meditative. So you've got the benefit of the physiological response in the body being calmed by the signal of breath being calming. And at the same time, because you're counting, it's also meditative. So I don't know if your parents ever told you when you couldn't sleep as a kid to count sheep. And the reason that that works is it's because it puts you in a meditative state. Now, meditation is not the absence of thought, it's the hyper focus on one thought. So when we are counting, we actually can't think about the thing that's bothering us. So this is why I love box breathing. Physiologically, sorting out our vagus nerve, saying it's safe. And then from a mindset perspective, for the calming, it's also allowing that counting technique as well. This is a great one to teach children. If you have kids, teach them this one. All right, so we're actually going to do this together now, just really quickly. And just a couple of breaths to give you the idea if you haven't done this before. And what it looks like is we're going to breathe in. We're going to do all of our breathing through the nose. If it's super uncomfortable, go with the mouth. But generally speaking, when it comes to breath, nose breathing is calming. Mouth breathing is excitatory. That's not always the case. It's just a bit of a general rule of thumb. So if you're trying to calm, we want to try and breathe through the nose as much as we can. And if we're trying to, amp ourselves up before doing a big presentation at work, we're going to use a mouth breathing technique. So if it's comfortable, we're going to do the breathing through the nose. And what it looks like is we're going to breathe in deep into the belly first and then the chest for the count of 4. Then we're going to hold our breath for the count of 4. Now on the hold, it's really important that there's no squeezing, there's no tension. It's literally just stop breathing. Just stop breathing and hold for the count of 4. Then you're going to breathe out for the count of 4 and then breathe and then hold for the count of 4 with your body empty of air. So you can see why it's called the box, right? So imagine you're breathing in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, and for the count of 4. So I'm going to keep the count. So again, we're going to sit back nice and comfortably in our chair. Really, this time you want to feel the support of the chair beneath you and behind your back. Feet nice and flat on the ground. Close down your eyes. And just take a few normal, just rhythm breaths right now, breathing in and out through the nose. And then I'm going to guide you through. So on the next breath in, we're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, hold, out, and hold. And just returning back to normal breath now. So you might have even noticed, even in those couple of breaths, an instant calmness. I find with this one, sometimes you need, sort of 8 or 9 breaths. Sometimes 2 or 3 will start to get you into that real safe mode and calm into your body. So again, another thing I love about this one is it's really fast and you can just do it for as long as you need. There's no rounds. There's no, you don't need to do 8 and then stop and then 8. It's just keep going until you feel calm and your mind feels clearer. So that's breath. So we've had the physical body, so the feeling of the emotion rising in our body and what to do with it to essentially move it down. We've had the breath, so the box breathing, and also the longer exhale. And we've had the hug, the self-soothing hug. And then the final one here is to stimulate the vagus nerve. Now, how do we do that? Well, the easiest place to access the vagus nerve is in the throat because it runs all the way through the body, right? So the easiest place is in the throat and the jaw. So you can tilt your head back gently and then open and close your jaw. That will help calm you down immediately as well. Things like humming or gargling. So humming will, again, really just stimulate the nerves up either side of the neck. Gargling will do the same thing. It sounds a little bit random, but it actually works. So stimulating the vagus nerve, and again, that place in the throat. So that humming, and sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had this before, but singing or humming has really made you feel relaxed in the past. It certainly happened to me. So absolutely works. All right, let's move on to maintenance. Now, maintenance is essentially your ongoing nourishment. This is how we nurture your nervous system so that when the stressors hit, our battery is full, our capacity to bounce back is much higher, and our tolerance is in a better place, right? So these are your consistent, regular practices. This is not when the acute stressor is hitting. It's not when you're in crisis. This is building up that system for resilience and holding capacity. So think about it like fitness. You don't get fit by going to the gym once, right? You build it consistently, and then when something happens, you recover quickly. So nervous system, exactly the same. Keywords for maintenance: gentle, slow, grounding. When you're chronically stressed, high intensity anything can actually make it worse. Your system needs the opposite of intensity. So, some of the practices to incorporate in your life that might be helpful: yin or restorative yoga. The prolonged poses allow emotion and tension to genuinely release over a period of time. So, yoga generally, very good for you, very good for your state of mind and all those sorts of things, and the breathing and everything, really good. But when your nervous system is jacked, stick with yin exclusively. Qigong or Tai Chi. So these are like your very slow moving techniques, but they're very focused on moving energy through the body. So I was talking before about the body highway. This is where Tai Chi or Qigong can be really helpful for moving that energy nice and slowly and calmly through the body. Relaxation massage. So I'm not talking about remedial massage or sports massage. Absolutely not. In fact, if you're feeling even a little bit jacked, do not even touch those ones. We want long, calming strokes, preferably with an energetic element. So I would always recommend the Hawaiian style, so Lomi Lomi or Kahuna for the massage. Nature, actual nature, feet on the ground, laying under a tree, walking on the beach, not a trail run, not mountain biking, just being in nature. Your nervous system and nature vibrate at the same frequency because we are nature, right? So it's the regulation can't help but happen from a vibrational standpoint. So laying under a tree on a grassy, in a park, one of the best things that you can do just on a day-to-day basis. And things like grounding, I'm sure you've heard of grounding and connecting with the earth and things like that as well. All of that has actual basis in scientific fact. Meditation and mindfulness practices, so even 5 minutes a day compounds over time. We want to ideally, people always ask me, how much should I meditate? Okay, the magic number is 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be in a row. 20 minutes a day is like the minimum. But if you need to do 10 in the morning and 10 in the evening, fine. Having said that, anything you do will compound over time and you can lead up to it. So, anything that stops the mind, and I said before, meditation is not the absence of thought, it's the hyper focus on a thought. So if you're having trouble with this, start with something that's guided or with music or something, and then move into silent meditation and things of that nature as well, where you are just focused on a single thought or allowing the thoughts to pass through. Mindfulness, like one thing that people talk to me about a lot that they love to do is like those coloring books, like adult coloring books, where you'll just really focus on that. But any creative pursuit that is, where time kind of passes and there's no real purpose to it. You're just doing it for fun. Things like dancing can even be classed as mindfulness, but coloring, drawing, painting, things of that nature. Um, what else? Long hot bath or sauna. So something that makes you feel heat in the body and raises your temperature and just um yeah, brings awareness to the body. So bath or sauna. Journaling, getting what is in your mind out of your head can be really helpful as well. Um, Sleep. Sleep is another one I get asked about a lot. Now, if I have to choose between quality or quantity, I'll go for quality every time. If you do not go into deep sleep, then your recovery system can't kick in, right? And your breathing can't get nice and deep. So if you have to choose between setting up your environment and having a few hours sleep or having longer sleep in an environment that's not ideal, go for quality over quantity. But one of the most important things to do, and we know a lot of the things like winding down an hour before bed, no lights, no screens, all of those things beforehand, phone out of the room. But really, probably the most critical thing with sleep is consistency with time. Going to bed at the same time if you're able. Really important. And that also signals safety. If we can be consistent in anything we do, but something like sleep where we're becoming completely vulnerable, like we have to be completely unconscious for 8 hours a day just to function. So, there's not much safety in that. So if we are consistent with our times, with our sleep, it creates a feeling of safety. Um, Last one, hydration. Again, if our body has to fight anything that feels like it might die. So, we can go a few minutes without breath, not very, a couple of days without water, and much longer without food. But with hydration, it's probably the next one after breath, where it, if we are dehydrated, if our body feels like we don't have enough water and hydration, it's a threat because it's like, well, if this goes on for too much longer, and it's not that long, then we might die. So that's what your body's feeling. So hydration, really important as well. Very simple thing that we can do to support our nervous system, aside from all the other range of benefits that we all know about with hydration and water. And with that, the reduction of like sugar and caffeine that increases stress hormones, basically, as well as spikes your stress hormones. Um, so yeah, what I say to people is there'll be some of those you're already doing. Um, But if not, just pick one or two and commit to them. Maybe pick one that's like a daily thing, like hydration might be a daily focus, and then you're going to get a massage once a month, a Lomi Lomi massage once a month. They're beautiful, highly recommend. Please get one. But you might just choose a couple of these practices and just incorporate them into your life. And then what you'll notice is if you're already quite stressed, you'll calm down quite quickly. But if you're not stressed yet, it's going to increase your capacity to handle stress. All right, your baseline. Okay, how am I going for time here? Alrighty, so I need to get a wiggle on. Okay, so number 3 is the monitoring, right? So this is knowing when you need support. So monitoring is really about awareness, knowing the signs that your system is out of balance or heading towards out of balance, and knowing when to get support rather than just powering through. Most of the time, we don't know we're getting stressed until we are stressed. So, what can we do to increase awareness, to track and to intervene? So, if you are constantly anxious, exhausted, reactive, numb or disconnected, not when something happens, but as a way of being, that's information, that's data. That is when your nervous system is telling you it needs help. So what helps with deeper regulation or this monitoring part of the nervous system regulation? So keeping yourself educated, so understanding your own system. Again, like I said, I didn't know about any of this stuff till my late 30s. I never heard of the nervous system before. I was definitely stressed and burnt out, but I didn't know what that meant. So understanding how your own system works is genuinely empowering, and information is power. Do I think my life would have looked different if I knew this earlier? Absolutely. So understanding these concepts really important. And this is just science. It's how your body functions. We should all know this. Another one is trauma informed therapy. So and not to say that traditional talk therapy is not useful, of course it is, but trauma-informed therapy allows us to go a layer deeper. If our dysregulation is a result of prolonged external factors or traumatic events, really important that our therapist is trauma-informed. Somatic and energy healing. Again, like I've said a million times now, stress is a physiological thing. It's not a mind thing. So somatic and energetic healing practices, so think things like acupuncture, Reiki, Zentai, things of that nature, where you're being supported in the body and the energy flow at the same time as maybe physical manipulation of the body as well. And, if you're having coaches or mentors or anybody else like that in your life, making sure they're incorporating nervous system and body work, not just mindset. Have the affirmations, have the mindset stuff, but also nervous system regulation. The body has to feel safe, or you can have all the positive thoughts in the world and it will still not do it. You will still not do the thing because you do not feel safe. Creating boundaries with others and with yourself. So stop cramming your calendar. Spaciousness is medicinal in this case. And when I say boundaries with yourself, that means keeping promises to yourself. If you're going to say, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, go to the gym, or don't say you're going to go to the gym, because every time you break that trust with yourself, you are creating distrust and a lack of safety and disconnection in your body with yourself. So this is really important and something, again, we don't talk about much, but creating trust and boundaries with yourself and certainly with other people. Like, do not let people encroach your boundaries. And of course, there's lots and lots of, events and workshops and information, things like this webinar. You can go to breathwork events, sound healings. Retreats are really beautiful for nervous system regulation. The thing that I really love about retreats is that the thing I love about retreats, that's an opinion. What I find is impactful with retreats is that you have high intensity mixed with full immersion. So the mixture of intensity and immersion has enough impact that it creates lasting change. As opposed to going to a workshop or an event, still go to those things, but with a retreat, you're actually embodying something for a period of time. So that's why they're so beautiful and healing, right? So with this, as we regulate, as you become more regulated in your nervous system, these are the things that shift your baseline. You don't need to do them all the time, but they're things that you might want to do to just check in with yourself. Where am I? Really understanding and noticing the signals, like actually tuning into, am I getting signals? Am I getting early signs before it gets out of control next time? Taking the wheel and really, understanding where I need to, and I'm going back to a car analogy now, but like do an oil change, for example, I need to go off and I need to do my massage. I need to ramp that up because I'm starting to feel the signs of dysregulation. I need to go see my therapist, whatever that looks like. Okay. Wow. Okay. So we have covered a lot tonight. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you for actually being here and staying with me through all of this. I know it was a lot of information, but hopefully it was useful. I wanted it to be really practical as well. Hopefully now you understand what stress actually is doing inside your body. You understand your nervous system, the two branches of it, the vagus nerve, what regulation and dysregulation might feel like for you. You have the MMM framework and a couple of real tools that you can go and use tonight if you need to, really. Some really practical things to put into practice. And that is honestly more than most people learn about this. And I really mean that. It was certainly more than I knew. And there is so much more to it. But with these foundational elements, when understood and embodied, they'll actually make a bit of a difference in your life for sure. But I'd love to hear any feedback if you do try any of the practices, if they work for you. I know some of them just sound a little bit odd and they might even feel a bit odd the first time, but actually can absolutely take you out of the moment and really bring you back to where you want to be. But information doesn't change anything, right? We all know this. You can know all of the things about nutrition and still reach for biscuits at 10 p.m. Knowledge is a starting point. But the real change, and I touched on it a bit before with the retreat before, the lasting change is where your whole internal world actually shifts. It's the embodiment piece. And that happens through consistent practice and through the right support. So I'm going to take some questions in a moment, but first I want to share with you what next level support looks like. So let me ask you something. Imagine waking up tomorrow and not immediately feeling that low level dread before your day's even started. Who's felt that? That low level dread before your day's even started. Imagine having a real toolkit, not just information, but embodied tools so that when life throws something at you, you don't completely fall apart. Imagine feeling genuinely at home in your own body, calm, grounded, um, like you've actually got yourself. You can trust yourself, right? That feeling of safety internally. That is what nervous system regulation actually feels like at its core when you do the work consistently. I know because I've lived both sides of it, and I'm sure many of you have as well. Um, and imagine if you know more about how your human being actually works, more of the critical information that genuinely helps us feel happy, maybe at peace, how life actually works. As I said earlier, information like this would have been far more helpful than some of the things I learned at school, right? And I hear this time and time again. Why didn't we hear about this at school, right? So tonight I want to tell you about 2 ways to go deeper with us at the Ascendancy Collective. Now, there are 3 of us that run the Ascendancy Collective, myself, Rhiannon, and Karina. So a little bit about Rhiannon. She spent a few years in film and TV, and she has a really deep understanding of people, emotion, and behavior. She has studied mindset and identity shifts more than most people that I know. And her superpower, and the thing I love about her that I say all the time, is she's this beautiful mix of grounded and like childlike energy, the joy that you didn't know that you needed, the sunshine you didn't know you needed. And then we've got Karina. Now, Karina is a pretty extraordinary woman. She has been through more intense things in her life than most people and has come out stronger and more resilient. She is the definition of someone who builds themselves up when things go wrong instead of crumble. She actually founded the Sophie Effect after the passing of her daughter Sophie, and she's a speaker. She is brilliant on things like grief, like I said, resilience. And the thing I love about her is she can really meet you where you're at. She can sit in emotional, the victim hole of misery, as I like to call it, with you if needs be. And she's really good at holding space in that way. So these are the people that make up the Ascendancy Collective, along with myself and all those things at the beginning that I said I do. And basically, with the 3 of us, we have some upcoming events. So the first one is called Ascending Night. Now, honestly, perfect next step from tonight. Ascending Night is a 3.5-hour online event. The next one is happening on Saturday, the 11th of July, and it's just $29. It's not another webinar. It's a half-day immersive experience run by, as I said, the 3 of us, all co-founders. We all have our areas of expertise, and between us, you have nervous system and transformation coach, grief and resilience expert, pattern identification and mindset specialist. We each bring something different, and together we go so deep in this 3.5 hours. You're going to understand what from your past has actually been running the show, the conditioning patterns, beliefs, and the things you've been carrying without realizing, to be honest. You're going to reconnect with who you actually are underneath all of that, who you actually are underneath all of that. And then you're going to build this incredible real vision for what you actually want in your life. You're going to walk away with a proven framework and an actual structure to go and do something that you've always wanted to do or that's really aligned with the next level of yourself. So here's a couple of bits of feedback that we got at the last one. We did it a few weeks ago and again, got incredible feedback. The room was just a beautiful space of expansion and growth. Real tools, real processes. We do a lot of processing in there, transformation, and it's less than the cost of lunch. So it was absolutely incredible. So I'm going to pop the QR code up here now. I might just pop I'll just pop the link into the chat as well. just in case. The QR code for whatever reason. I think that's right. Yeah, look, what I would say with this one, if the first half of this year didn't quite land where you wanted it to, if there is something that you know you need to address and you know it's time, or if you just value your personal growth, your expansion, you want more joy, more love, more happiness, you need to be at this event. Really important. So that is Extend Ignite. We're super excited. Like I said, the last one was absolutely incredible. Now, the next one is really exciting. If you just want like a full life overhaul, this is the one to be at. If you're sick of feeling like crap, you're sick of making excuses, sick of, wanting your life to be somewhere and it's not getting there. If you just know that you are meant for so much more, or if you're stuck and you honestly have no idea who you are or what you want, this was again my experience. I didn't know who I was or what I wanted. And I didn't know that until it was brought to my attention. Then this is a 2-day summit and it's for you. Okay. So I can't reveal the full agenda because if you've done any self-development stuff, really, the processes that happen in the room and the tools and everything, it's an immersive experience. So you really have to go along and experience it to get the most out of it. And the less you know, the better. But I will tell you what you're going to get. Okay. So in terms of what you're going to get, 2 full days of live expert facilitation designed to take you from where you are now to who you're meant to be and give you the actual map the gap, how you're going to actually do that. And like I said, that full immersion experience changes you forever. We've taken everything that we know between us, how the human mind and body works, how identity is formed, how fear and grief and resistance live in our body, and how to shift all of that at the root cause. And we've built this like 2-day journey around that experience. So something you probably haven't ever experienced before, but absolutely life-changing. And like I said, you get your 2 days of full expert facilitation across the 3 of us. There's going to be materials and workbooks and resources, all the things that you need. We also do 30-day post-event integration. So that's in a guide, plus we also do a phone call because and I was having this conversation today with someone actually. What actually happens is you go along to events and it could be something like this. It could even be a smaller event or a retreat or whatever. And you go home and you're like, what do I do now? If I'm still processing, how do I help myself through that? So we make sure that integration is part of it, really important. You get access to the Ascendancy Collective community, and I'm going to put a code for that up in a moment. And like I said, you got that group, the group call, as well as the integration guide as well. And what is actually going to change for you? So a clear understanding of exactly what has been keeping you stuck and the tools you need to remove it. Practical tools to shift your emotional state and your energy on demand. Freedom from specific fears and limiting beliefs that have been running your life. Reconnection with who you really are, what you value, what do you actually want, not what you've been told to want or what you should want, what you actually want and who you are. Some people I work with don't know what they like to do on a day-to-day basis, and I was a bit like that too. So this is about reconnecting with who you are. The confidence, right? So we're changing our relationship with things like fear and anger, resistance. We're getting comfortable with uncertainty. How much easier is life when we are okay in the uncertain, in the uncomfortable? And the direction, right? So obviously the tools, but that clear path, that clear plan of what I'm actually going to do next when I leave this room. Okay. So you'll just leave feeling lighter, clearer, and with an actual solid plan and some really practical tools to use in your life. So we are doing the next in-person one on the 8th and 9th of August in Brisbane. The investment for this one is $649, but because you're either watching you're on the webinar tonight, or if you're watching the replay, that's absolutely fine. You get 10% off by popping a send in the coupon code at the checkout. So I'm also going to pop a link in the chat for this one as well, in case for some reason QR code's doing something, but let me just pop that in, won't be a moment. Beautiful. Yeah, so pop your Ascend in for your 10% off. Yeah, we are doing it. We're doing it on a Zoom version, but this live in-person one in Brisbane, 8th and 9th of August, it's going to be pretty incredible. Like the what we've got coming up is incredible. The people that we've already got that have got tickets that are coming along, it's going to be an absolutely life-changing room. And I look for some of you, this is going to be some of you, this is going to feel like a stretch, one or both of these events, right? And I invite you to ask yourself what it's actually costing you not to do something at the moment. So, what's another year, tired? What's another year of running on empty? What, if I know something has to shift and I can't identify it, what does it mean that it's still just sitting there heavy in my body? What is the cost to your health and your relationships and your energy and your life and all those things? And again, this compounds, right? These are the things that compound over time, just like the good practices that we do compound. So for Ignite, 29 bucks and 3 hours of your time might just change the trajectory of the rest of this year for you, if nothing else, if not longer. For Summit, it's 2 days out of your entire life, and like I think it comes down to like 585 bucks or something. That's less than most people spend on a night out, and it could actually change the trajectory of your life. So being in rooms like this where I was safe and held and guided to finally address what was blocking me was one of the most significant investments of my life and building the life I live now, which I absolutely love. Couldn't have any better. I love it. Who you hang out with actually matters, and environments that you put yourself in seals your fate. Even if it's not with us, I encourage you to get into rooms where you grow, where you expand what you think is possible and that really challenge you. So important. We are built for growth as human beings. Now, for some of you, this is an absolute yes, and you're already putting in your QR code and doing the thing. Great, love that energy, you're ready. Some of you know this is not for you right now. That's absolutely fine too. I really hope that you got something out of tonight and that you found it really valuable, this information that we've shared on the nervous system this evening. Some of you are like weighing it up. And again, I would ask you, how much is staying where you are costing you? That's what I would ask yourself in that case if you are weighing this one up. Beautiful. All right. So finally, we just have a school community as well. So school is just a hosting platform. This is a free community where you can follow along with what we're doing. You can get all of your webinar recordings, tools, resources, and of course, hang out with some like-minded people. So feel free to jump in there and say hello and join the school community if that's for you as well. Okay, so before I go, I just want to say thank you genuinely for giving me your time and your attention tonight. Whatever you take from tonight, even if it's just one thing, use it. Do something with what you've learned. Don't let it be another tab that's open or that you forget about. Um, and yeah, I'm just going to stop the recording here so that I can take any questions.